The Greatest Thing in the World by Henry Drummond. The Analysis, Part 6. My name is Steve Van Eiderstein, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. And today we are going to be doing the fifth virtue of the virtues that Henry Drummond listed out in his book, The Greatest Thing in the World. And we've done patience, we've done kindness, we've done generosity. Last week we talked about humility, and this week we're going to be talking about courtesy. So, and this book is a analysis of Henry Drummond's thoughts on 1 Corinthians 13, which is Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. And we're just reading through how Henry Drummond interpreted what Paul said. And he took the characteristics of what love were, and he associated single word virtues to them, which I thought was really cool, which makes it more palatable, which makes it more understandable for us. And it's been really a great experience for me to go through this, and I hope you all have been enjoying it too. So please go ahead, like, subscribe, share, comment, whether you agree, whether you disagree, all is good with me. I like to get the feedback. I like to see where people are. I like to see who this is getting in front of. So thank you all so much for the support of this channel and what I'm trying to do here. So thank you so much. So let's go ahead and we're going to get into it. And I do want to remind everybody that I'm reading from an 1890s copy. You will probably be reading a revised version. I'm not sure when the revision happened. I couldn't find anything about it when I searched for it quickly previously. But so yours will have a little bit different information in it. This is the most authentic to the original lecture that there is, or that I could find. So let's go ahead and we'll dig into it. So here we go. We're reading about the fifth virtue in Henry Drummond's book, The Greatest Thing in the World, in the section titled The Analysis. So here we go. Courtesy. Love in relation to etiquette. Love doth not behave itself unseemly. Politeness has been defined as love in trifles. Courtesy has been defined as love in little things. And the secret of politeness is to love. Love cannot behave itself unseemly. You can take the most untutored persons and put them in society, and if they have love as a reservoir in their heart, they will not behave themselves unseemly. They simply cannot do it. Carlyle said of Robert Burns that there was no truer gentleman in Europe than the plowman poet. It was because he lived to love everything, the mouse and the daisy and all the things, great and small, that God made. And so he could go into any society, into courts and palaces, from his little cottage on the banks of the Aire. We heard the other day from one of the speakers on this platform about the meaning of the word gentleman. It means a gentle man, a man who does things gently, with love, doth not behave itself unseemly. So there we go. That's the reading for today. We're talking about courtesy, and it definitely is an interesting virtue to be considering or talking about. You don't really hear courtesy talked about that much. It feels like, I mean, people say common courtesy, give me the courtesy of blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't seem to be a virtue that's being reinforced, maybe. Like it's an archaic thing, but it's like it's been lost to time, almost, if that makes sense. And and he talks about it in humility. I guess even at this time, it was an odd virtue to include, because he even said at the end of the humility reading. The fifth ingredient is somewhat a strange one. So that's interesting. So even Drummond himself said this is odd that Paul included this. But after reading it, after giving it some thought and some consideration and some contemplation, I realized this is actually an incredible addition to define love by, right? To say that to be loving would include this. Because courtesy is something that used to help move society forward. It used to help be a foundational piece of interpersonal interactions. And from courtesy comes respect for our properties and boundaries. And from courtesy comes just healthy interactions between people and institutions. And this is one thing, courtesy is one thing that helps society just get along with each other. And it's something that helps our day-to-day functioning go smoothly. It helps us stay on a right path to make sure we're not stepping on people's toes, make sure we're conducting ourselves appropriately. And it's, like I said, it seems to be something that's being forgotten by society in a lot of ways. And now I know that might sound, I don't know how that might sound to you, but I know there's a lot of changes that have happened with the way people interact with each other. So maybe that has something to do with it, or just in general, common courtesies and politeness has been discarded or tossed out as unneeded or disingenuous. Maybe I think that's part of it. People see being polite and courteous as a institutional characteristic that causes people to be disingenuous. And people today just want, be honest with me. Tell me the brutal truth, the honest truth about things. Don't sugarcoat things, which, I mean, there's a way to do that and to be transparent and to be authentic, but you can still be courteous. And we've lost the art of that to be polite, to be courteous, but to still be authentic and true to your moral fiber and character and the individual that is you. It's almost as though courtesy has been deemed something that is just not needed anymore. And I think we get a lot of the repercussions of that today. People just disagree. People take things personally. People make assumptions. This idea of courtesy really is a beautiful addition to a loving mindset and to a loving character, because it allows us to continue to grow in our character and our moral development, whether we realized it or not. So let's go ahead. We'll dig into this. And I love that he opens it up the same way as the other four characteristics. He says courtesy, love in relation to etiquette. Love doth not behave itself unseemly. So we're starting off again, and we're keeping this format where he's saying he gives us the virtue, he gives us the part of the chapter that we're referencing from the Bible, but he also gives us a definition of what the virtue is in terms of love. So we have courtesy, love in relation to etiquette. So there we go. Another virtue in terms of love in relation to etiquette. And I looked up etiquette in my 19, this old book right here. It's a 1920s, forget if it's 21 or 27, Webster's Dictionary, and it says the conventional rules or ceremony observed in polite society. So courtesy is the way we is the way love is expressed in your daily interactions in society, right? So everything that you do, every person you come in contact with, it courtesy is the form of love that comes into play with these things, because these aren't people that you're trying to help. These aren't people that might have a significant role in your day-to-day living. It might be just a person you're passing, or it might just be being respectful of a shop you're trying to purchase something in, right? Like the courtesy is the way love is expressed in everything that you do on a day-to-day basis, right? It comes up as courtesy. And it says, love doth not behave itself unseemly. And unseemly is the word obviously used from the Bible. So we must always conduct ourselves that is responsible and respectful to the circumstances or situations we find ourselves in. Unseemly, right? We have to hold ourselves with integrity and love all the time. We're not making a scene about things. We're not being cross or cursing or rude or destructive. That those are non-loving things to do. So to always conduct ourselves in a loving way means to not be unseemly. Is to conduct ourselves with politeness, with courtesy, with proper etiquette, as I said earlier. So, and we have to do also, this is a big part of this. We're not doing it just so people won't judge us. We're not doing it to get the approval of others. We're not doing it because we're scared of what people are going to think if we do not act in this way, which is why most people practice politeness. Most people practice courteousness is because of a underlying selfish and self-centered concern over how it's going to make them look. And that is not the right reasoning to do it, to say the least. Now, I do understand it's better to do it for maybe the wrong reason, but the action be correct, right? That's where we all start. But it's really, really crucial to understand we are practicing courtesy because it is the right thing to be doing. It is the loving thing to be doing, not because we want to look good. That's the complete wrong motive. And we've always felt, well, I don't know about you. I will speak for myself. I hated it when someone wanted me to act a certain way to make sure they looked good. That my behavior was a reflection on their moral character, which when I realized that was going on, I usually probably always behaved worse because that's the type of child I was. That was the type of person I was early on too. So to conduct yourself with courtesy is quite important. To conduct yourself in such a way that is to be polite and considerate and compassionate to everybody you come in contact with, because it's the right thing to do, is quite important. And allowing others to have their judgments that they might have or whatever might be going on for them is the right place to stay here. We do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And then we just keep on moving forward, regardless of what people think or what other people say or do, right? That's what the humility piece is. We don't justify our good behavior to anyone else because we want to make ourselves look better. We just take the right actions and move forward. Drummond goes on to say, politeness has been identified as love in trifles. And then also that courtesy has been defined as love in little things. So if you, just upon initial reading of that's the exact same phrase, right? Politeness has been defined as love in trifles. Courtesy has been defined as love in little things. Because I looked up trifles in that same dictionary and found that trifles are small things or things of little value, meaning like these are the minute details that occur throughout the day. These are the interpersonal interactions that you have that you probably didn't even give a second thought to, but they make an impact to the individual, right? These are small, little, an incalculable number of actions that you take and words that you say and things that you do throughout the day that we need to conduct ourselves lovingly with courtesy for, right? So this is one of my favorite sayings, and it drives some people crazy, but it's really important for me to remember that every little thing matters. Absolutely every little thing matters. And we don't get to go just be rude and mean or obnoxious just because it makes us feel good in a moment, right? Or just say, oh, I'll apologize later, right? No, we have to make sure we're conducting ourselves with love and courteously throughout our entire day in every single interaction. We have to be intentional with these things. We have to practice them because it is the right thing to be doing. This next sentence was the secret to politeness is to love. So the way you conduct yourself, the way you're polite, the way you speak to others, the way you be thoughtful and considerate of others and hold others with compassion and understanding, that is politeness. That is practicing love in all that we do. So conduct yourself with love, and you'll find yourself being polite. You'll find yourself being courteous. You'll find yourself having appropriate etiquette. Just because you're acting from a place of love. Now, we're supposed to exemplify this thing. We're supposed to embody what love is. And to be truly a loving person, right? Because what we're talking about in this book is not just, oh, practice this type of love. It's to say to be loving, to have love within you, to be a loving person, you have to have all 9 of these qualities, right? So we have to have love within our hearts and our souls, right? And that will fill all of our actions. And then therefore politeness comes, courtesy comes, understanding comes without even trying. We go on to say, or Drummond goes on to say here, love cannot behave itself unseemly, and it put cannot in italics. Love cannot behave itself unseemly. You can take the most untutored person, put them in society, and if they have love as a reservoir in their heart, they will not behave themselves unseemly. They simply cannot do it. I love this passage. I absolutely love this passage because it corrects our perspective. It is not that we desire to be unloving, but force polite and courteous behavior, right? We don't just, this is where we start. I will give it that. This is where I started with being polite. I didn't want to be polite. I didn't want to be courteous. I didn't want to be loving at first, right? I had been selfish and self-centered for so long. To practice these things or to be this way felt vulnerable and weak and uncomfortable. So my heart's desire was not to do this. My heart's desire was to actually be selfish. But as I say all the time, you force the external action, right? And you do the work on yourself. So then this changes and then this changes. And then when this changes, everything else becomes a permanent change. When we hold love in our hearts, we legitimately cannot be unseemly. So it's not saying hey, this is a restrictive behavior, right? Like, don't do this, right? Just, it's not saying, hey, this is bad. It's saying we have to hold love within us. We have to actually bring that into our person, and then we physically cannot act unseemly. It is not possible for us to do it. Not because we shouldn't do it, but because when we have love in our hearts, we will automatically and naturally practice the kind, courteous, loving thing to do. Right? It is the courteousness is a manifestation of holding love within your heart. And when you have that, it's an impossibility. It's an impossibility of you to be discourteous or unseemly, as this section called it. I love that it's said just at they simply cannot do it. We have no desire to be selfish anymore. We have no desire to act out in ego or frustration or pain or personal affront or personal offense or vindictiveness or resentment. We just have love in our hearts, and it just pours out of us. Right? Being a truly loving person will allow courtesy to become just a natural side effect eventually. So a loving heart will just behave this way. And you can kind of see it in people too, can't you? Like, a beautiful thing to really is just naturally want to conduct yourself in a kind and a courteous way. Now, if you see people that practice it here but not there, you know they don't truly have love in their heart. They're doing it for one reason or another, but it's not because they just hold this lovingness within themselves that comes out as being courteous and polite. That ability to be discourteous to someone and rude to somebody and disrespectful to somebody, that actually fully indicates that you do not have love within you. And now that is probably going to ruffle some feathers, to be honest with you. That's going to make some people angry to hear. And that's okay. I know for me, whenever I have felt that desire to be selfish and strike out at people, or to be upset and take things personal and try to take it out on whoever's in front of me, there's no love in me at those times. There's no desire to do the right thing, which is a little bit scary, to be honest with you, because we all want to consider, like, everyone wants to say we're a loving person, but if you're only loving when it's convenient to you, then you're doing it wrong. And it doesn't matter where you are, who it is in front of you, what the situation is, what the institution is that you have a problem with, the things that you are having this disagreement with, or the things that might be imposing on your life, or the things that worry you, or the insecurities that you have. It doesn't matter what it is. To always be kind, to always be courteous, to always be polite when you're going throughout your day-to-day life is always going to be the priority. And the more you let that embody within you, the more you let that manifest within you, guess what? The less you want to do the selfish stuff, the less you want to do the self-serving stuff, the less selfish desire you will have. But you have to intentionally practice this stuff. You have to intentionally make an effort to be loving, to hold love in your heart, when we've just been holding our selfishness and self-centered perspective for so long. It's quite a different thing. And then Drummond goes on to talk about Something that I believe it's Thomas Carlyle said about, I think it was Robert Burns, and he said the plowman poet lived to love everything, and so this made him a true gentleman. The love for great and small allowed him to go anywhere in the world and society because he would be just automatically courteous, right? So not only will, and Drummond saying it's not only that in your normal area, in the places you know how to act, will you be courteous and polite, but also no matter where you go, will you be courteous and polite? No matter what's going on, will you be courteous and polite? Whether it's a brand new land that you've never had an experience with at all, but you just find yourself there, you will be able to be courteous and polite, kind and compassionate, considerate of others. This isn't only when you know what's appropriate. When you have this reservoir of love, is what he said, that you will be able to, by default, be courteous. You might innocently overstep a boundary because of lack of knowledge, but you'll be able to correct it promptly. Right? You might know the appropriate things to say or appropriate actions or whatever it might be, right? But you have the willingness to learn and to acknowledge the wrong. So this courteousness, this politeness just comes from the practice of love, and it will serve you everywhere you go, no matter what is going on. That's the amazing thing about it. It doesn't matter what's actually happening or where you find yourself having to practice it. You will just be able to practice it. And that's an amazing thing. And he wraps it up with this following part, which it was interesting that it just was kind of tacked on at the end, but it was in reference to the gentleman it was probably included because of the reference to being a gentleman, Robert Burns being a gentleman. He says here, we heard another day from one of the speakers on this platform about the meaning of the word gentleman. It means gentle man, a man who does things gently with love. Love doth not behave itself unseemly. Now, remember, I think this is one of the places in my reading compared to the new revision. There's some differences, but I want to highlight, remember, this was a lecture. It was actually the first time it was spoken was a sermon, and then it turned into a lecture for people to be able to read, follow along with, learn from. But so when it says another speaker from this podium, that's what he's talking about. When he first gave this lecture, and this lecture was recorded, he was referring to another speaker that was there at some point in days earlier, obviously. So, and that person spoke of being a gentleman, and that being just a man who does things gently. And this, and then when you're a man that does things gently, you're a man that does things with love. That doesn't mean you can't be stern. It doesn't mean you can't have strength. It doesn't mean you can't be assertive. It doesn't mean you can't share your opinion of what is right and discuss it with passion. But a gentleman will be able to do all those things with courtesy and kindness and love. Now, this might be another statement that bothers people, but this is something we've lost in society today, in the Western world. No one strives to be the gentleman anymore. No one strives to hold themselves to such a high standard. We've lost the ability to see why it's worthwhile. And I'm really glad that it was included in this, because it is an ideal we should all strive for, to be gentlemen. I guess maybe I should say men should strive for. is to achieve this descriptor of he's a gentleman. That means we conduct ourselves confidently with courtesy and grace to be able to be loving in all that we do. And this is an ideal we should all re-engage with. This is the best way for us to grow personally. This is the best way for us to grow as a society, is when we strive for these common things, when we can practice courtesy and politeness in our disagreements, in our conversations, when we practice good faith arguments and debate to try to just explore how to move forward, continue to grow in this world. So being courteous goes hand in hand with being a gentleman. And they're both hand in hand with just being a loving individual. You will automatically be kind. You will automatically be polite. You will automatically be courteous. And you will automatically become a gentleman. To take actions gently from a place of love and conduct yourself as such. This virtue is definitely one that has been lost to time. And I do believe needs to be reinvigorated. It needs to be spoken of more. It needs to be brought to the forefront. And it needs to be something that we strive for. Because if we don't, we just selfishly attack each other and take from each other and try to just live a selfish lifestyle to the best of our ability and take what we can from this world. When we're here to build this world up and to bring more love into this world and to bring a sense of harmony and balance. But instead, we just constantly are shaking the scales. We're just constantly taking for ourselves, and we're not practicing this kindness, this courteous, this politeness. We're not striving to be gentlemen anymore. We're not striving to be something greater. And because we've lost that aim, we become obsessed with serving ourselves, being inconvenienced by other people's existence, by responding rudely to common pleasantries, to feeling like the world should just revolve around us or leave us alone. And at the end of the day, that's a recipe for freezing any progress in its tracks. We might even regress. So though this virtue, this fifth virtue that Drummond has summarized, the doth not behave itself unseemly in this courtesy and politeness, I think he's right on the money. I think it's something we need more of today, probably even more than they needed it back then. We need to bring this understanding of courtesy back to the forefront. So, well, that's it. That's it for today. That's the end of this episode. So thank you so much for following along with me today. I really do appreciate it. And again, love the feedback and whatever platform you watch this on. So thank you so much. You can catch us on Spotify, YouTube. We are on Apple Podcasts as well. We've got a Facebook, TikTok, X, Instagram, probably other things too I'm forgetting about right now. But thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to talking about the next virtue, which I believe is unselfishness, and we'll be on virtue number 6. So we're getting right through them. So I'm looking forward to it. So until next time, thanks.